Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? It is day 5 of RPG A Day 2021, and the word I've chosen for today is the word include. Now, the main word for today, I believe, was throne, which I had nothing for, and there was also gamble, which I kind of talked about a little bit, and also a community, which I've talked about in the past. But the word include kind of like was left. And inclusion is a really hot topic, and it's a real buzzword today, isn't it? But I'm not going to talk about it like that. This video isn't about that. So what I started to think about when I looked at the word include was choice. And we get to choose who we include in our games and what we get included in our games. Or look at it from a different way, we get to choose whether we include ourselves in a given group of people or in a game or an experience or in something with certain elements. This is far from negative. There's literally something for everybody in the role-playing game hobby. There are games for anybody. There are premises, ideas, genres, ways of playing, systems, procedures, play styles, etc. For just about, there's something for everybody, and not everybody is going to like everything. Not everybody is going to play in the same way. Not everybody is going to play well together. There are people that I don't want to include in my games because they're jerks. You know, it would be insane to include everybody in my game because there's 7 billion people. Okay, maybe not that many people are playing role-playing games, but that's a lot of people. Can you imagine keeping track of all those characters? And also, like, it's insane to include everything in my game or your game, because then the game would be about everything. It really wouldn't be about anything at all. Point in every direction is the same as having no point at all. This game has to be about something. And, so it's been my experience that we get to use choice. We get to use some discernment. We get to use some self-discovery and figure out, well, who do we like playing with? Who do we gel with? One of the great things about the internet is it has, allowed me to cast a very wide net, and it has allowed other people to cast very wide nets. And so there's people now that I include in my game group and have included me in their game group, that I've only known for a few years, and we've been able to include a bunch of games in this group. But these are people I wouldn't have met before, but now we can include each other in our role-playing game experience. And it's important to kind of choose who you're playing with, because role-playing games are like really up close and personal. They can be really intense. They can be about intense things. Even if there's no actual role-playing involved to speak of, we're right up in each other's faces, even if we're on opposite corners of the globe when we're playing virtually. It's still pretty intense. So, you have to kind of figure out, well, who do you actually enjoy playing with? Who are you okay playing with? And then we could choose, we get to choose what elements we include or don't include. That's one of the great things about like having a session 0. When we started playing All for One Regime Diabolique some time ago, we had a list of parts of the genre. And what are we going to emphasize and de-emphasize in terms of things like romance or swordplay or investigation or intrigue or the supernatural, because we're playing All for One. And so we kind of got military. So we got to just figure out, all those elements are involved, because if they weren't, it wouldn't be the genre anymore. But we get to decide, what are we going to emphasize, de-emphasize, where are we going to focus our activities. And we've got, in any game like that, we get to make some fine-tuning and some fine adjustments as time goes on. And I've done that in other games to great effect. So we get to choose as a group, talking to each other like reasonable adults, what are we going to include in this game? What are we not going to include in this game? It's a very hot topic, talking about like the discussion of what do we include in a particular game or not include, and there are times when you're no longer playing that genre anymore, so that's not what I'm talking about. But we get to choose, what are we going to include? Maybe you're like me, and you'll include. There's very few holds barred. Even for me, even things that would remind me of or be direct analogs to a recent loss of a partner are okay. In fact, I welcome those things. Not that I want them to happen all the time, because it's been my experience that at times role-playing games can give you some pretty hard whacks to the gut, or give you some experiences, allow you to see some things from a different perspective, and get a little close to them, and examine how these things feel. And that's not the only reason I play by a long shot. But I don't keep those things off the table. You know, if we're playing a horror genre, I want there to be horrific things happening, etc. That doesn't mean that you have to include those things in your game. You get to make the choice. What am I going to include, not include? So, you know, inclusion with intention, inclusion with the ability to make choices. We get to figure out who we're going to play with, what we're going to play, how we're going to play it. Are we going to add house rules, not add house rules? You know, are we going to try some different things or not? All these things we get to choose. Do we include this element, this person, or not? Or if everybody else in the group is playing something and it sounds awful to me, I can choose not to include myself. And there's other times, you know, with my group of friends that, like, you know, we're, you know, everybody's, but one person's, you know, on board, and they're like, yeah, okay, well, I'm not going to play. If you guys play this, we're not going to do it. Other times we decide we're not going to play that because we really want to include this person in our activity, and we only have this much time. And so we make, you know, we adjust accordingly because the friendship is more important at that point. You know, I can go on and on. I've already talked too long because I'm trying to keep these videos short. But yeah, inclusion, choice. How about that?